So, does the Georgia voter bill restrict voting? Coming right up. What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Common Sense Logic Reason. As always, I want to say thank y'all for joining today. Greatly appreciated, no doubt about it. So we know that Georgia passed their voting bill primarily to strengthen the security and the integrity of their voter system, in light of the election fraud we just witnessed in the last presidential election, that the left keep denying, and of course they're all up in arms over this, as they always are. Anytime any amount of more secure voting is introduced, they have a problem with this. They always talk about where it always restricts the black and brown votes. Amazing how only black and brown people are subjected to the law, while white people are always supposedly exempt from said law. But does the bill restrict voting? Well, the answer to that question is yes. It does restrict voting. Just like any other security measure restricts. That's the basis of security is restricting. If I lock my doors and my windows, that means I'm restricting access to my home. Is there a problem with that? No. They just need that. In order to do so, you need a key to enter. That's called restricting, right? If I put all my valuables in a bank vault, or let's say I buy a safe and put it in my home, and I put my valuables and important documents in that safe, I'm restricting access to them. Again, what's the problem with that? Right? If I have to show an ID and have a background check done on me to buy a gun, well, isn't that restricting access, my right to guns? Yes, it is. Right? When the government put the fence around the Capitol building because of the quote-unquote insurrection, quote-unquote, did that not restrict access to the Capitol building? Yes, it did. So the left actually have no problem whatsoever with restriction, right? As long as the restriction supports their narrative. But as soon as a restriction is against them, then they're all up in arms. As soon as it becomes inconvenient for them, the restriction is inconvenient for them and their narratives, their viewpoints, what they want, then it's a problem. Now, restriction doesn't equal to prevention. Just because there's restriction with the laws, the voting laws, that doesn't mean that black people can vote, because black people can still vote. You just have to adhere to the law. The stricter measures. Like if you have to show ID to vote, then you just show ID. If you too lazy to pull out your ID that black folks already have, if you're too lazy to pull out your ID, even though you have no problem pulling it out to get in the club and do other things, but if you're too lazy to pull out your ID to vote, then you don't need to vote. Okay? They shouldn't be mailing out ballots just to everybody. There should be security and integrity when it comes down to that. So anyways, yes, the bill restricts. It does restrict voting. That's the intended process, like any other security, as I said. Now, obviously, the left are going to have a problem with it. Well then, if you ever hear any leftists cry about this voting bill, it restricts the vote, then tell them we need to remove all gun laws because they restrict guns, access to guns. And that'll shut down all the argument. Of course, they're going to try to go on, but let them know, hey, when we remove the restriction on guns, then we'll talk about removing restriction on votes. Anyway, y'all, that's my 2 cents on this argument. And as always, until next time.